I think on such a lovely rainy fall day that we got to shoot the rapids. Foot first, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what happens. Oh. Okay, folks, so key tasks. We've got this week, so we've got 7 days. We've got about 57 days before December 1st, which is when the snow starts to fly. At least it has in the first 2 years. So we're using that as kind of our D-Day where we enter into winter mode. So there's some things we need to get done before then. In terms of tasks, our metal roof is finally in at Home Depot, so we have to install that. The metal roof on the cabin extension here, as well as on the ATV garage. Task number 2, firewood stacking. We still have 3 or 4 face cords at the end of the driveway. We need to get stacked into our woodshed to make sure it's dry and ready for winter. And then the final task, get these solar panels up on a raised platform on a hinge so that it's off the snow and we can make sure it's easy to clean. In terms of buildings, these are individual action items that need to happen before December 1st, or ideally need to happen before December 1st, because these are things that if we can get them done before the snow flies and before the ground freezes, that's perfect, because each of these individual buildings we can continue to work on throughout the winter months, right? So we've got the sauna roof. The sauna is really a priority for me. I've realized it's a critical thing for health. I want to start using the sauna every single day, not just once a week, before our cold dip. So getting a roof up is critical for the progress of the overall structure, but also our sauna tent nearly got destroyed like 10 times in the winter. It just can't hold up any snow on top of that soft shell. So the sauna roof I want to get up. The bathroom plumbing, we're getting our well drilled hopefully next week, and getting the lines from the well to the building, as well as our little gray water septic field plumbed up to the building, is key before the ground freezes. We can get as far as we can on this list of 6 things. I think we'll be in good shape for building all the way through winter, because remember, the snow doesn't really disappear and the ground unfreeze until basically May 1st. So getting these things done so that we can work on any or all of these during the winter is going to be key. Clovis, what are you doing down there, buddy? You trying to drive the tractor again? Huh? What are you doing? Oh no, dude. I cut it too short.
Guys, it's important that we get it flush because this is going to prevent any pests, you know, bugs or rodents or anything from getting into this underlayment on the roof. This one will work here. There we go.
I am James ALOFS. I left the big city to build an off-grid homestead on 40 acres of Canadian wilderness. This area of Ontario has giant ridgelines, deep valleys, and pure rivers. Black bears, gray wolves, mountain lions, moose, and many forest spirits share the land. I started in November 2023. Starting with a modest 12 by 16 foot guest cabin, my goal is to build such a glorious homestead that I attract a magnificent wife, have several military-grade babies, and raise our Swiss mountain dog Clovis. Welcome to Wild Homestead.
No. Oh, yeah. No. 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 Crazy, man. Clovis! Clovis!
Ready? Come on. Come on, buddy. Oh, yes. Good boy. Good boy. Okay, Clovis, drop. Clovis, drop. Nope. Ready, go. Well, he'll actually fetch this. Usually like bones, balls. He just has no interest in fetching, but this he actually likes. Hey, stop.
Trees have grown wild and dangerous. Anger festers in their hearts. They will harm you if they can. Oh, there are too few of us now.
Hello. Good morning. Clovis! Hi. Hi, buddy. Hello. Oh, hello, Clovis. What are you doing in the forest, dear sir? Hello. Drop. Ready? Okay, go. Tasty Clovis, tasty Clovis. Oh. Tasty, tasty. Oh. You guys see all the staining. There's different kinds of mold on these boards. Story behind all this wood. All the major beams in Musashi's fire shed, all the beams here, basically all the other wood, well, except for the rafters, which we milled this year. It came from these giant red pines that the previous owner of this property had cut down. These were pines that were planted right at the road. And the guy cut them down, and they'd just been lying in this pile for like probably 2 years, 2.5 years. I mean, really, as soon as you fell a tree, you should mill it, which is what the chief sawyer at NORWOOD Sawmills, Brian Sewell, has told me. So it was not a good idea that they were sitting there for 2.5 years. But I tried to salvage them. You know, as soon as I had enough money for my YouTube earnings to hire my neighbor to help me mill them, I did so. But that wasn't until my first summer, so that was like a year in, you know, to Wild Homestead. And luckily, they're kind of salvageable. They seem to be structurally sound. But what Brian Sewell told me, I told him, took a bunch of pictures, and he was like, oh, wow. He's like, you got green mold, you got white mold, you got blue mold. He's like, you also have some, I don't know if you can see it here, but some of the boards have black mold. And what Brian told me was that black mold is the nastiest. You got to be really careful with that. He's like, in the future, don't mill wood that is this old. He's like, you can use this stuff on outbuildings, you know, sheds, barns, that kind of stuff. Don't use it on anything that you'll be, you know, using for human habitation, because the mold is a major health issue. Wow. Doing all the sheathing on this roof was definitely much harder than that one, because it was all standardized. We were using store-bought 2x4s, you know, with just a spacer block, boom, 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 boom. But because each one of these was 1x6s, 1x8s, 1x10s, 1x9s, you know, all different lengths. But I'm really happy we could use all these 1x lumber without having to throw it out. So I think this is the perfect application.
Clovis, you can't have the apple. The apple's not for you, man.
Dudes. That's frost, ladies and gentlemen.
It's only about 1 degree right now, but it's gonna be a high of 14 Celsius today. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but yeah, but then it's gonna get warm again. It's gonna get like up into the low 20s, and then it'll be like 10 degrees at night. So it's so funny. Every time I see like a cabin building channel and someone's putting on metal roofing, there's this massive debate that absolutely rages in the comments, and about whether you sink the screws into the valleys or into the peaks. And there's people that are 100% convinced it's one way or the other. And I don't know what the general rule of thumb is, but at least for this brand, there's very clear instructions that comes, it depends on the product that you're getting from them. So this is Americana, the Americana panel. You put it in the peak, but you see it depends. There's other products where you do it in the valleys and peaks, valley, peak, valley. You see, I think you really gotta, depends on the manufacturer. Whoa! Whoa. So guys, you know how we've got two Milwaukee drills? There's this big one, which for lack of a better term is like a standard drill. Then there's like the snub-nosed one. And I believe that snub-nosed one is called the impact driver. And the reason I'm not using the impact driver one is that that one I think is designed for really like driving down screws, you know, generally into wood, where you want it to be really, really tight and like really hammer in there. Maybe even have the head of the screw sink down into, if you look here, down into the wood itself, right? So we were using the impact drivers, you know, screwdriver for that. But this one, see, it's got all these settings for intensity. So I've got it on at a 10, but you gotta kind of play around when you're doing roofing, because with roofing, you don't want to be driving these screws in, because you have to be careful. The metal, you see this, it kind of stops when it gets to a certain tension. If you keep driving this all the way down, this will actually bend right down. Like if you had an impact driver and you sunk that all the way as far as you could, this would just all crumple down. I had no idea. Is that supposed to happen? The grinding wheel is just progressively getting smaller and smaller. I didn't know that was a thing. Oh, heck yeah. Thing of beauty, thing of beauty. Hey, Clovis. Oh, yeah, buddy. ATV wolf den, now fully closed. Dudes, finalement, we got quite a bit of overhang. This is seriously increasing the amount of storage space we have. Finally, the WOLFMILK ATV has its own resting spot, sheltered from the sun, the rain, and the snow. Its deserving spot. Guy, we bought him in February of 2024, and it was the first piece of kind of like real machinery that we got here on Wild Homestead. So to finally have him here under the original tree where we actually carved out the wolf den amongst the stand of spruce trees, it's pretty awesome. I also like the fact that everything in here is milled from trees on this property, except for the 2x12s, the 2x12 headers. We got 2 of them from our neighbor. We got 1 of them from the store. But we still have this enormous double spruce tree intercepting a huge amount of snow from falling down on the roof. This is straight up. You know, we're not going to spend a lot of time finishing off the interior in terms of putting up siding and places to hang tools and all that kind of stuff. The plan is to use this half as temporary chainsaw and tool storage until we can get our permanent tool shed up and going. Oh, dudes, I totally forgot we were short a bit of the ridge cap. I wonder if that spare piece, dudes, I think it is. Have at least 3, if not 4 face cords of maple from last year at the end of the driveway that we need to load finish loading into the shed. Oh yeah. Barely got it aligned. This is gonna be tough. Go to the mic. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Okay. yeah, Clovis. Oh yeah. Look at this, first night of the wolf den. Got some serious frost up there. But look at our beautiful ATV. No frost. Okay, ladies and gents, the last little section is just this right here. So you can't order panels in any other size than 3 feet in width. You know, you can order it in any length that you want. But these panels are essentially about 12 feet long. Now to cut these, instead of cutting them just from this ridge to the side, I'm actually gonna have it overlap on 2 ridges just to give it more stability. You know, because this is going to have a lot of weight on top of it with all that snow. Now to cut that, our grinder wheel, we don't have the little tool to replace the discs on it. So we're going to have to get that this weekend in town. But once we can cut those final 2 panels, we'll put them on. Then there's something called the gable end cap, and then the ridge cap we can also put on, and the roof will be finished. But look, it's like basically 95% done, which is pretty exciting. This thing has been open for quite a while. You know, so this means the covered area of the building, it's now 12 feet wide by 26 feet long. So it's getting to a serious length. It's pretty sweet. So something I did not order, which I think that I will, is something called venting for the ridge cap. It's this little foam piece that's striated so that air can come in and out, but that critters cannot. And I didn't actually order it because I'm just like, you know, this is just for a covered porch. There's no reason to have that venting on top. But you know what? I think I am going to order it because this would be so easy to close in this front porch and make it a 4-season porch. You know what I mean? Like we could have big giant windows on all 3 sides that are screens, but then you can pop the screens off for the winter and put like plexiglass on top. That would be really interesting, actually. You guys may remember last November, we built this 9-pier foundation for a sauna, right? Look at this view. Absolutely stunning. Now, the problem has been, look at the water levels. So we went swimming here many times last summer because the water was more than head deep here. But do you see how much the water level has dropped? That is the old water level over there on the embankment. It's dropped by at least 3 feet. So it's no longer, I think, deep enough here to be a really good swimming hole. When we were building this last fall, the water level came like right up to there on the bank. And the reason it has fallen so much is because in the spring flood, the entire beaver dam got washed out. It was kind of like half rock, you know, half wood. But for whatever reason, the beavers have not come back. They have not come back to rebuild the dam. So the water level upstream has dropped way down. Now, I think the best swimming hole really is where we usually go and swimming beneath the dam. That's still really deep. That's overhead deep. So I don't know if building the sauna here is the best idea because it's too far away from the water. So folks, the problem with the tent was great. Shout out to NORTHWOODS Manufacturing for their special sauna stove with the engineered lip on the top, which is great, as well as the Firefly sauna tent, which has been awesome. The problem with this is definitely 3 seasons. As soon as it gets a little bit of snow on top, it just collapses. We've already broken several of the internal ribbing, little beam stick things. We've had to reorder them 2 or 3 times. So it really doesn't do well in the winter. So we're gonna have to get the sauna sorted. But you see, this is really the ideal spot. It's overhead deep, well overhead deep in the hole. It's beautiful, it stays unfrozen for a much longer period of time. It doesn't quite have the same beautiful view, of the mountains over there, but I mean, it's killer seeing the river, I think. See, we're right here, and then you can see the build site basically, it's right there. You see that, those trees over there, it's right before the trees. It's really not that far. But actually, in terms of sitting inside the sauna and looking out, I'd much rather look at the rapids and the river, especially in the winter months, as opposed to just the frozen river over there. We got the 9 foundations. It's 9 feet by 14 feet, I believe. It's really not that far away. But there definitely something is about stepping out of the sauna and literally being like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 steps away. This could be just far enough where you kind of like that heat wears off, especially like in February and March. Those are some really nice stones. So folks, Clovis and I just got back from town. We got some supplies for the sauna. Hello. Oh, and we got the tool for the grinder, so we can change the grind wheel and finish cutting the last 2 plates to finish the roof over there. So we'll see what we do tomorrow morning before we go into edit. But a lot of research on saunas, man, in terms of what we're going to do next. Learn some new things, spun the wheels for a bit, but that basically took the whole afternoon. But it was important to do this research and figure this out now before we move forward. Yeah, guys, this view is so much better. Honestly, this is what we want to be looking at when we're sitting in the sauna. And I know it's difficult to understand because the other sauna site is just maybe, 100 feet that way. But I mean, the critical thing is like January, February, March, if it's minus 20 degrees outside and there's 3 or 4 feet of snow on the ground, the whole sauna experience coming from the hot sauna, going into the cold plunge, if we have to run this 100 feet through snow, then come down the embankment and then go into the river, that could just take the heat away. You could already be cold by the time you're getting into the water, and then that ruins the whole experience. You know what I mean? I think it's worth it. Like, if we're building this one sauna for life on this property, it's better to have the sauna in the right place, even though it's going to take a little bit more time to set up this set up the build site over here. It shouldn't take very long. I think it's worth it, man. Oh no. Okay. I think to do the next step, we need to make sure that the string lines are level. And to do that, we either need something called a line level, which I need to buy. They're super cheap. They're like $5 at the hardware store. Or we could use our laser level, but it's just absolutely pouring right now. So I don't want to take out the laser level in the rain. But I think that's what we'll do first step next week. 10 days into October, D-Day, when the snow starts, is December 1st. So we've got there's 30 days in November, and we got 20 days left in October. So we've got 50 days before the snow starts to fly. So we'll make as much progress as we humanly can before #winter is coming. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week. Strength and honor to you all. May the gods bless you, both the old gods and the new.
And remember, folks, if you find yourself slowly falling in love with an AI chatbot, please keep in mind that you cannot have military-grade babies with a large language model. So quit flirting with your computer, get yourself out in reality, and start chanting the following 9.5 words in 2 syllables. Ooga, booga.